In this lesson, we will discuss constraint-based pattern mining. We will go over convertible constraints, data anti-monotonicity, succinct constraints, and handling multiple constraints. Convertible constraints, at first glance, may not look like monotone or anti-monotone, but with some transformation of the data, we can convert them into anti-monotone constraints. Here's an example. We still work on the same database with price and profit. The constraints says average of s.profit greater than 35. At first glance, average profit doesn't look very promising. If I add items with positive profit, the average may go up. If I add items with negative profit, the average may go down. So average can fluctuate. Note, it's neither monotone nor anti-monotone. Now, what happens if we reorder a profit descendingly? Let's try to examine an item set, AG. Average is 35, violates the constraint. Does adding more items will continue to violate the constraint? The answer is yes, because a profit is ordered descendingly, which means whatever we're going to add is not going to cause the average to go up. So the ordering of the data converted the constraint into anti-monotone constraint. Note the key insight is for something that is neither monotone nor anti-monotone, like average, the ordering does convert it into an anti-monotone constraint. Can item reordering work for a priori? The answer is it doesn't, and it boils down to the mechanics of how item sets are generated from one item set to two item sets to three item sets. So early pruning is going to affect this process. Let's see how this plays out. This is our two item sets. We have AF, FG, AG, and AD. Only AG survives because AF, FG, and AD do not meet the constraint. But notice how we lost the opportunity of generating something may still hold the constraint. So AGF is 21.7, which is greater than 20, but we will never be able to generate it because F was pruned too early. Moving to data space pruning with data anti-monotonicity, what we have seen so far is pattern space pruning, which focused on pruning item sets. Data space pruning, on the other hand, focuses on pruning transactions. Let's see how this looks like in a definition. A constraint C is data anti-monotone if a data entry T can't contribute to a pattern that satisfies a constraint, then we can prune it because it can't contribute to P's superset either. Sum of s.profit greater than or equals some quantity V, let's say V equals to 25, a transaction 30, the sum of the elements in transaction 30 violates the constraint. It's safe to drop this transaction. Notice that we're not dropping the data items globally from the database, we're just getting rid of this transaction. Let's say we are looking for the sum of something like cars and watches and diamonds, which is like very large sum. We're not dropping all the bananas and breads. If every time we buy a car, we also buy banana, we will still be able to find this pattern. But in transaction 30, it looks like all of these combinations are not going to satisfy the constraint, so it's safe to remove this transaction. Another example, minimum s.price less than or equal V. Let's say V equals to 5, but every item in a transaction has a very high price like 10. So none of the items in this transaction is going to make this constraint true, so it's safe to remove it. Similarly, range is data anti-monotone. So a transaction that has CDEF will not satisfy the constraint, so it's safe to drop this transaction. One important note that data space pruning should be explored recursively. So let's take a look at what goes in B's projected database. T10 satisfies the constraint, but A turned out to be infrequent item. So the support equals 1, but minimum support equals 2. So we have to drop A, but dropping A resulted in dropping the transaction because now the constraint is not satisfied on the group of CDFH. Also, this is going to have consequences because now dropping transaction 10 makes the support of item H drops, which means we also need to drop H from transaction 2. Here's the same example in a visualization. Dropping A resulted in dropping a transaction, which also resulted in dropping another item set from the database. Succinct constraints are those that can be enforced directly by manipulating the data. This is somewhat of a catch-all category because in practice, if a constraint is not anti-monotone and it's not a purely data space-based, it might fit the succinct definition. Let's take a look at a few examples. To find patterns containing item I, let's say diapers, we only mine I projected database. This is a case of data space pruning. To find patterns without item I again, suppose I is diapers, we simply remove I from the database. This is a case of pattern space pruning. What about C3? Minimum of s.price less than or equal some quantity is succinct because we can start with only items whose price is less than or equal V and remove all the transactions that contain higher price items, which combines both pattern and data space pruning. Let's see C4. Sum of s.price is greater than or equal some value is not succinct because the sum of prices in a set keeps on increasing as more items are added. So we can't know in advance which items to keep or to drop based only on their individual prices. Now let's see how succinct constraints can be pushed inside the FP growth algorithm. Constraint minimum s.price less than or equal 2, minimum support equals 2. So items 1 and 2 appeared twice, items 3 and 5 appeared 3 times, 4 is pruned because it's infrequent. Normally, we would create projected databases for 1, 2, 3, and 5, but due to the constraint minimum s.price less than or equal 2, we only need to create projected database for 1 and 2, which minimize the amount of work FP growth will need to do. This constraint is succinct because it can be pushed deep into the mining process, which allowed pruning projected databases upfront. The table gives a list of constraints and it tells whether the constraint is anti-monotonic or anti-monotonic and succinct. Similarly, whether it's monotonic or monotonic and succinct. Finally, how to handle multiple constraints. We have already seen examples where more than one constraint is at play. For example, a support constraint combined with another one. In some cases, ordering the data in a certain way helps satisfying that constraint. But the challenge is if there are, let's say, 5 different constraints. We can't order the data in 5 different ways at the same time. So one common solution is to order the data in a certain way. If 2 constraints are conflicted, pick one ordering and enforce that constraint first. Then apply the second constraint during the mining process while minimizing the number of the projected database that we need to build. At this point, the problem becomes very context dependent. In other words, deciding which constraint has the most pruning power. For example, if C1 average s.profit greater than 20 prunes more aggressively, apply C1 first. Then, once we have the projected databases, apply C2, which is average of s price less than 50. In summary, we discussed pattern space pruning constraints and data space pruning constraints, where we covered anti-monotonic, monotonic, convertible, and succinct under the pattern space constraints, and data succinct and data anti-monotonic under the data space constraints.